Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast number 876. This is a Talking with Chris Hardwick episode, an extended version. This is the cast of Orange is the New Black, because I don't believe Orange is the New Black has an after show that goes along with it. It's sort of tough with the Netflix shows because you binge watch them, so it's like you probably wouldn't watch an episode and then watch an after show and then watch an episode and then watch an after show. Maybe one could bookend the season. I don't know, but this was great because it sort of acted as that role, but also we had Taylor Schilling on and Uzo Aduba and Danielle Brooks and Taryn Manning, and they were great, and it was really. We talked about more than just the show, but just as people, they were also incredibly wonderful people. And Orange is the New Black season 5 is on Netflix June 9th. So if you're not caught up in the show, we do talk about some stuff that has happened. So I should just give a mild spoiler alert that there are some things that if you're not caught up to the show that we do talk about. But if you are, or if you can consider them completely independent experiences and you can still enjoy the process of it while having something, finding out something, then go ahead and listen. But Taylor Schilling, Uzo Aduba, Danielle Brooks, Taryn Manning, Orange is the New Black. Talking with Chris Hardwick we're going on a little bit of a break to accommodate a little show called Fear the Walking Dead. But when that's done later in the summer, we'll be back. We have a lot more great episodes coming up. Bryan Cranston, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Jane Lynch. We have Tatiana Maslany, Jamie Alexander. So we still got a lot more episodes to go coming up later in the summer. But Talking Dead will be back for Fear the Walking Dead coming up pretty soon. So there you go. Here's Nerdist Podcast number 876, Talking with Chris Hardwick, Orange is the New Black.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Tonight, my guests are the cast of one of the very first and most critically acclaimed series on Netflix. They play inmates in the fictional Litchfield Penitentiary. Over 4 seasons so far, we've come to know why they were incarcerated, how each one has adjusted to prison life. They've all evolved in incredible ways, and the show has been nominated for an unbelievable 17 Emmys and won 4 of them. Joining me tonight, Uzo Aduba, who plays Suzanne Crazy Eyes Warren, Danielle Brooks, a.k.a. Tasty Jefferson, Taryn Manning, also known as Pennsatucky, and the character that kicked off the entire thing, Taylor Schilling as Piper Chapman. Tonight, the cast of Orange is the New Black will be talking with Chris Hardwick. Oh my gosh. This is very exciting. This is a big deal. It's like there are people in the audience are dressed up. They're in costume right there.
I love that so much. Thank you for your effort this morning.
I know, and there's one in the back too.
Yeah,
we see you.
Well, this is
you, boo.
This is the fandom. Well, first of all, we've heard all your questions, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, using @Talking. I'm going to reading questions, comments. We're going to be using hashtag Talking Hardwick. We're going to see video messages that you've sent. People from the audience are going to ask questions for Orange is the New Black. And but I'm going to talk. I'm going to kick the chat off a little bit. This is what an incredible, I guess, 5 years now, almost 5 years that it's been for you. But you see the fandom that is surrounding this show. Did any of you ever have any idea that this is what would happen? This kind of cultural impact?
Hell to the no. No.
No. Because I think, if we go back to 2013, it was 2013, I think
Right.
it was. Netflix was really just a thing that you would get DVDs in the mail and send them back.
Yeah.
And so the idea of them doing original programming was a little bit like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
What's happening over there?
I remember, and I think I've said this before, that when it was in my world, when it entered my orbit, but I really thought it was like a web series.
Right.
I thought that was really the only thing I had to compare it to. And then but I was, I thought the book was amazing, and Jenji Cohen I was such a fan of. So it was like, this is a beautiful project. But I thought it was going to be the equivalent of like doing a black box.
Like a YouTube show.
Downtown off Broadway. But then something really interesting happened, and I think, something cool happened that first season when we were sort of in a bubble and kind of thinking it was a web series, and we just felt felt like a play. It felt like doing a little insulated.
Yes.
Like, I feel like I'm overacting.
Yeah.
you great? Like, what is the tone? I didn't find it.
So Danielle, you got this right out of college, right?
Basically, I mean, I had a year of struggle. Like for actors, that's like dog years, so it feels like forever.
Yeah, of course.
But I did. I booked it out of school, and I had like no expectation, nothing, no idea of what this was going to be. I was just happy that somebody's going to give me a check and give me an opportunity to showcase what I could do. So I was like, okay, whatever you want me to do, I'm about to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play an inmate. That's what it turned out to be. So it's been an incredible ride. So much fun working with all these girls and getting to tell this story for the fifth season. It's been awesome.
What about? Yeah, isn't that? It must seem crazy.
I can't. Like, I still remember that day, the first scene.
We
that
had
Danny
my
and I
first
had
scene was with
together.
Taylor,
and I literally, and it was so small. Like, I remember, but it felt so small. It felt like such an intimate thing, and I had to have like my clothes off.
She was naked. I was like, you got those TV titties.
Yes. Yeah. And we just like, and I was like, who is this woman? Who is this girl? And I like went home, and I remember texting some friends of mine and being like, this cast, like something cool is happening here.
Yeah.
Something really wild is
So
happening.
you felt it right away.
I kind of did as soon as I met everybody, and then I was like, I need to know you.
Right now.
Right now.
Yes.
Took a minute.
It kind of felt like the show, I don't know, it felt like after school, just hanging out a lot of the time, you know, even though we're at work, it didn't feel ever like we were working. It just felt like you met these people who, for some reason, you didn't know the day before yesterday, but then felt like they fit perfectly into your life. And you just wanted to be around each other and all the dressing room doors. I specifically remember, you know, you think, oh, okay, here's Taylor, like maybe, you know, she's going to be off in her room. And instead, the door was A, open, and B, distinctly, I remember her coming into, I don't know what we were crowded into the room talking about, like some room. But we were in somebody's room, and she came in, and we were all talking, like yip-yapping, and she just was like, sat on the floor and just chilled out. And it was like, oh, we're all one in this.
Well, it is interesting that the show is about a group of people who are sort of smushed together and have to sort out their own dynamics. And in a way, that's what happens on a production where you don't know anyone, but you come together and you have to kind of figure out like what your dynamic is going to be as human beings so that you can approach your work. But did you you were just ready to give up acting before? You had given it up.
The day of, it was 45 minutes, but it was long. 45 minutes.
I mean, there are a million reasons to.
I love that.
There are a million reasons to tell the entertainment business to go fuck itself. But what was yours? Like, what was your defining moment?
Mine was, I felt like there was a party happening daily that I didn't feel like I was often invited to, and it's hard to know that, you know, like you're feeling like you're not being invited to the party. And I think why for all of us, a lot of us, there's so many of us who are different, whether it be our size, whether it be our style of acting, whether it be our color, whether it be our natural hair, whatever it is that we're bringing differently to this table. Genji was interested in it. I always use this term like, we are a motley crew. This group of us. Don't you feel like this? Look at us. It's just like this motley crew of women. And I had been working and trying to just find my space, my place in this, and felt very exhausted, I guess, by the effort. And I came, and it was the first time, the day that I quit acting, it was the first time in my heart I had really quit. I had quit and questioned before in my mind, but I had never in my spirit really said, I'm done. And that day that I said that, I came home and I was like, I'm going to get some sushi, going to get some wine. This is, moving on with my life party. And truly, my family's from Nigeria, so I thought, we go into like traditional professions. And so my parents thought I was going to be a lawyer because I can talk a lot. And so I thought that's what I was going to go and do. And I went home ready to just be moving on Monday. It was a Friday. I will never forget it. September 14th, 2012. And 5:43 p.m., the phone rang. And it was like, you got Orange is the New Black.
No, I already quit. I'm sorry. I had a sushi party.
Could you imagine? Can't do
No,
it.
what is that, an internet show? I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like something I want to do. And so you kind of had to muster up the, okay, I get, you probably immediately was like, oh, maybe this isn't so bad after all.
I was like, I was really excited. I was over the moon.
But that's a really interesting idea, this idea that, I think so many performers feel it as like there's a party over there happening and I'm not a part of it. And I don't know if that's something we put on ourselves. I feel like it's mostly self-generated, this idea that there's an over there and then I'm isolated over here. But this is kind of thematically what the show is, isn't it? It's like it's a group of humans who've sort of been outcast and they have to figure out how to make their lives work together. Right. But what I could never, when I first watched the show, I watched it right when it came out, that weekend where everyone else, like when it exploded. And I was trying to figure out, I was like, oh, well, it's a comedy, but it's not a comedy, but it doesn't feel like a traditional dramedy either. It's like there's really silly comedy stuff, but then there's really messed up, serious stuff at the same time. And that was even reflected in the Emmys, where it was like you were nominated for comedy and then you were nominated for drama.
Right.
So each one of you, what do you think the show is? Taylor, what do you think the show is?
I mean, that's such a good question. I think what you started talking about, that idea of outsiderness and being a misfit and outside of the group is not only something that I think a lot of performers feel, but I think it's very human, and I think it's something that in every way, like I know I have personally, and I know we all have. It's something that I'm in dialogue with all the time, no matter how much a part of the party I am. There's always that very human sense that I don't quite belong.
Right.
And I think that there was something where Genji found a way to express that really universal feeling through incredibly specific stories. And that is, I feel like for me, that's like a glass of cool water. It's like a relief to feel like, oh, I'm not alone.
Right.
And I think that sort of, and she found the context of prison and, really dealing with people who are different genders, sexualities, colors, sizes, shapes, different socioeconomic status says. Mm-hmm. But but that's almost just a vehicle for talking about this like just incredibly human experience. And I think my feeling is that people felt that. I think, and that was sort of
relate to it.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of what made. That's my take on it.
Well, yeah, they relate to it because it's basically, it's a show that with characters that basically says, like, no matter how fucked up you are or how much society says you're fucked up, you're human and your story's worth it and you're welcome here and you're accepted. And Pennsatucky is this character who is, even within this crazy system, is really kind of an outcast in the beginning, especially. It's very specific. Meth addict, religious, maybe has really kind of on her own wavelength. So, how did you approach her, and what resonated with her for you?
Yeah, she definitely doesn't walk in there trying to make friends. Not saying some of the stuff that comes out of her mouth. I really enjoyed the journey of her so far, the arc. The writers and what they've done with each of these characters is like so much fun, and maybe somehow I knew that what I read in that first script, like, it's very, she's very just mean and just sort of like one-dimensionally just awful. And I like just what Taylor was saying, like, there is a very human side to like everything that we're doing, and like Genji finds a way to sort of, even for the actor to like find the bridge between me and her, so we can marry and live happily together. Because otherwise, I'm like, oh. Like, what is she saying half the time? Like, sorry. Hi, guys.
Do you ever, as actors, say to each other before a scene, I'm about to say some really horrible things, and I'm just, do you ever feel the need to kind of caretake other people before you say stuff on the show? Like, this is just, or everyone understands.
Yeah. If you read the script.
Every now and then you might have to just be like, I'm probably going to go a little further than you expect. But for the most part, I think we respect each other. And that's the beauty of being on the show for 5 years. Our trust level with each other is incredible. You know what I mean? Like, literally, we can be joking and singing and laughing, and then we know when it's time to lock in and give someone their space, or, when it's time to be serious or whatever. Like we really have a good connection, a good chemistry together, which has been a lot of fun.
Well, what was the moment that you realized, oh, this is a thing. This is not some internet show. This is a cultural phenomenon.
I think for me, it happened in the course of 13 hours. It takes 13 hours for someone to watch Orange is the New Black. So my life changed in 13 hours of someone sitting in front of their TV or their computer or their iPad. And I remember stepping out of my apartment in Harlem, and I was getting on the bus, and someone rolled by, and they were like, that's that girl. And I was by myself, and I was freaking out. I was like, what do I do? Like, I'm that girl? Okay. And it was crazy to think about. And I would be on the train and by myself, and like these 4 teenager girls would be screaming their heads off, being like, that's tasty. And I got 4 stops to go. And now everybody's looking at me, so I had to figure that out. But that's also been the wonderful part about this process and this just growing in this business is having each other, having, like Kate Mulgrew or Leah Delaria or Laura Prepon, people who've been doing this for years, and getting to like talk to them and ask them these questions, and then having like Uzo and Samira and Adrian, who this is our first time experiencing this, and we get to talk and be like, girl, were you stopped on da-da-da-da, or do you need help with this? Are you having trouble finding a stylist? Like, we could help each other in that way. And so it's been great just to have such a great toolbox of people to ask for help in this business.
Where's the weirdest place you've ever been recognized?
Oh, my gosh. Yo, so I was in Texas.
Done. End of story. That says everything. Every weird story I can talk with. So I was in Texas. Got it.
So I was in Texas doing some press. And I was out chilling on the street with 2 of my friends. And I see this lesbian couple sees me. And they're like, one of them says to her girlfriend, like, oh, I think that's that girl. That's that girl from Orange, Tasty. And the other girl says, stop it, don't be racist. So I went up to him, I was like, it is me, you're not racist. And we took a lovely picture together, and just like, I will never forget that.
You probably saved their relationship if you hadn't gone up to her like, I can't believe I've been dating a racist this entire time.
Stop being racist. You're actually not. It's me. You got the right black girl.
It must just be weird to walk down the street and just hear, Tasty! Like people just screaming.
I feel bad for Samira. Poussey! Like,
Oh, yeah, of course.
Porn stash!
What do you do with that?
But Crazy Eyes was someone that I feel like people gravitated to immediately on the show. And her story is, the thing that I love about the show is that it takes this idea, these preconceived notions that you have about people, and this one-dimensional idea that you might have if you just saw a random assortment of people, and it really goes deep and says, oh, this is their human, this is who they are, this is how they were formed, this is their human story. So who is Crazy Eyes to you? Like, what does she mean to you, and how has that evolved since 2013?
Go.
When exactly?
I know, right?
I mean, when it started for me, when I read it off the page, in the beginning, I was like, okay, we are going where with this now? But as the time evolved and I started to see that, she's like deeply in love with this woman and perhaps even just fixated on her, I realized that this wasn't just, she wasn't writing poems for no reason. She wasn't just, peeing on the floor for no reason. These are... Yes, I do.
We started this being in love.
In love, yes.
Well, one is in love. I don't know about the other.
That's so funny. I forgot about that peeing on the floor thing.
Peeing on the floor, the poem where we're on the track. That was a fun day.
Classic moment, though. Classic moment.
No, and it was so amazing because I remember Uzo is like Uzo is so brilliant and would come to work and do these we would just I was like, who is this woman? Who is this woman and how is she? Because
your reaction
shit and it's really fun.
Your reaction when we're reading the poem is and somebody who is entirely with you when you're doing the scene is if you watch it back is 1,000% real. Every take being like, what? With each poem, which is my favorite. I feel like that's where the joke really lands. It's like when you watch Piper be like, what is happening right now? Because that was just so much. It was and still is. It's just so much fun, and I think that's the freedom that this character Suzanne and the characters that Genji writes for all of us to play, what makes it fun to go, why it doesn't feel like work, that thing I was saying before, because you genuinely enjoy what you get to open up to do. And where you start with all of these characters at point A is not where you finish at point B.
Right.
And I find that to be the most satisfying thing when you're acting, is knowing that we're not going to repeat day after day, moment after moment, the exact same thing. That's what Suzanne is to me. I think where I landed with her is I started from a space of her name is Suzanne, she's not crazy eyes.
Right.
And I've sort of endeared myself to the term of crazy eyes now because sometimes she can be crazy.
Right.
And so, but I think she has that Jekyll and Hyde-ishness in her that we all do, or we're trying to find. Sometimes we're leaning left, sometimes we're leaning right. And what I know for sure is that we can never judge any person by our first exposure to them.
Right.
We have to look a little deeper,
If Suzanne could basically break the fourth wall and say to the audience, here's what I want you to understand about me, what do you think that would be?
I think she would say, I desperately want to be loved. And do you have some peanut butter?
Love and peanut butter. Just a sandwich of love and peanut butter. But you talk the fandom that is around this show is so incredible, and it's such a and not every show has it, but this is definitely a show that I think should have an after show to unpack everything that happens on it, because the fandom is so passionate, and it's so and you become memes. Taryn is a meme. I see this meme pop up every once in a while. Do we have the preach meme? There it is.
Yes.
I assume you're familiar with this.
Did Minaj use that?
Yes, I've seen that before.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Did you
I remember taking that. I don't remember.
You don't remember taking it?
I remember the photo shoot, but that particular pose.
Are you guys? Are you all frequent internet users? Do you understand the community that's around, or do you stay away? Are you internet-y?
I'm probably the least internet-y.
I know, I try to help her.
They try to help me.
Teach her Twitter and stuff.
Sometimes I'll be like, Danielle, can we please?
I've had to give her lessons.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know why I'm so out. I don't have any, there's nothing. I don't know why it hasn't taken. I'm like, I don't swim there very well.
Right.
I feel very I really appreciate, I so desperately want to be seen, and I see how many people want to be seen, and sometimes I'm overwhelmed by all of the people, the seeingness.
Yeah. Well, it's intense. Online is intense, and especially because how do you with a fandom as passionate as this? Obviously, people. A lot of people on the internet feels like they watch shows and they just think every show's a documentary, and so they act like, why did you do this, or why did Suzanne do this, or why didn't Suzanne? And it's like, well,
that happens a lot. People actually say that to me on the street too. People tend to think things are documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you respect? Because you don't want to go it's not real, because then they go,
I know.
What?
Well, I found since for the past probably 3 years, I found this really. I actually feel really privileged that people take it so seriously, that I'm involved in something that people think are so passionate about. But people will say why did you do that? I'll be like, you got to talk to Genji about that. It's like, I didn't write the script.
I improvised the entire
right,
season.
I'm making this up.
Made all the choices.
Yeah.
But one question that we got a lot of, and this is again just how granular fandom can get, is your high school yearbook quote, which is not, I don't know if
I just learned about this the other day.
So here's your high school picture, and then your quote is, "Zap to me and my hippos, bye-bye."
I'm so nutty. I'm so nutty. Yeah, bye-bye. Okay, nothing has changed. I was so...
That's your hair.
I love your picture, too. It's kind of like, why are you looking at this?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I took that. I made my dad take that the night before, and I was because I thought it was so... I had such a non-traditional high school experience where I was sort of like on the fringes, and I went to a bunch of different schools, and so I was really able to observe from the outside these, and I lived in a suburban town, these like cliques and people taking all this time to say hi to this nickname and this person and that thing, and it was this very complex sort of mating ritual.
Sure.
And I was like, this makes no sense to me. I think it's pretty dumb. So I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. So I was like, this is stupid. So you're saying, so my group in high school was hippos, I guess. I don't know. I made it up.
So in your head, there was a whole narrative behind it.
No, I just wrote it really quickly, and then I made my father take that picture the day before, because I was like, you want me in your yearbook? Fine. It's like, I have no business here. And I had no idea it was such a big thing. God, I just such a little button bronco.
If you never,
yeah, I know.
If you had there was a real opportunity for you to be like, there's a very secret message behind this, and only the truest fan will figure it out.
I know. Apparently, there are like threads trying to figure it out. It really means nothing other than how absurd are all these like. K21, thank you, blah, 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 blah. Going out with my dad's money and driving my Beamer. Like, okay, fine, drive your dad's Beamer and talk about it and talk about winning a football game, but I'm going to say bye to my hippos.
Well, isn't it? You know what, though? I do understand. I understand the chain of logic on that.
I just thought it was so dumb. I don't know.
No, but it's interesting.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't you think there's an interesting connection between you sort of looking at the way people are interacting in high school and then what you just said about the internet, and it's just like, I don't know, that it really feels like do you like to operate outside this establishment?
I like to. I think it's a really interesting question. I mean, we could talk for hours. I'm sure everyone's very interested. I don't think so. I think that's really a part of me I'm getting to know. That I think I oftentimes, and I know I'm not alone in this, but given the way I've grown up and my whole experience of life, is often one of being on the outside and sort of like missing, like, and then playing Piper. Piper's on the outside, you know. Piper doesn't belong. She's not a part of the community,
right? And
it's interesting that kind of gets played out.
But it's kind of badass that, like, at 18, you were just like,
I was
not
out.
Conforming. I'm just gonna write.
I was like, I'm doing my own thing. Like, I don't fit anywhere, and take me as I am. And that's kind of still how I feel a little bit, because I do feel like there's such a push to kind of curate a life that is labelable,
right?
With social media and with this age of the idea of being an actor means you're a celebrity, which I don't buy into, and I'm not interested in that part of it. But I really love to act, so I kind of am like, well, interesting.
But it is like high school, though. This idea of celebrity and like that stratum of the business is very much like high school. And how much he said, and can you believe how is that? Yo, dog, hey, catch you next.
Like, who paid for the Beamer?
You didn't pay for it. But that idea that this system is kind of. That high school thing never entirely goes away.
No.
Well,
it's like they're called likes.
Yeah.
Their hearts.
And followers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how many likes or friends, do you know what I mean? Like, how many friends do you have? And how many likes do you have? No shade, no tea. But it's just kind of like, you know, like, that's still so high school. It's like, how many likes did you get?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get this many. You know what I mean? It's like...
It's an interesting metric to sort of to value whether or not you should exist.
It becomes like barterable, like weird, strange. This like you're bartering in something that's not yourself.
Yeah,
because
very
I think
much
in
so.
some like what you're talking about, Suzanne. That's kind of how I think a lot of people feel. I think that's one of the reasons you've created someone that's so immediately viscerally attractive because she's saying that everybody just wants to be loved and seen for who they are.
Absolutely.
But I feel like sometimes for me, in my experience, that kind of sharing of yourself can actually block seeing who you really are.
Right.
And so that's just been my experience of it. But as you can see clearly from my bizarro high school days, I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, I've remained pretty consistent with my viewpoint. I mean, I don't know what it is in my blood. My brother lives off the grid. I don't know. He's a farmer.
Did you have a group? I kind of want to just go around and find out what you were all like in high school. Like, what was your group, or who did you, were you a loner? So who was your group, and who were?
Let's start with. I feel like I'm talking so much.
I
all these brilliant people.
Really quickly, I want to hear about who the hippos were. Which is
Not quite clear.
Who the hippo? I mean, they don't exist. I think one of my things in high school was I came from a family that was on the outside of where we were living.
Sure.
We didn't have the same socioeconomic status of the people that I was around, and I was very much other than.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I had, through different events, had to go to some different schools. And so I sort of had to create my own, kind of like create my own elbow room to
Sure.
exist. Because it was also in a culture that is very, like that, the homogeneous kind of white
right.
thing that happens outside of Boston, and I think in a lot of suburbs, was very constricting for me. And I didn't, and just because of the practicalities in my life at home and stuff, I didn't have many friends. I didn't have many relationships in that way. I didn't travel with a crew.
Aww. You made your own crew.
I did.
I don't need you. I'm going to make my own crew, and they're going to be the hippos, and they're the best ever.
They are kind of. I think it's kind of amazing, and I will just put a plug out for continuing to be yourself, because it's bizarre how life works out. That at 28, when I started this thing, I finally found my sorority sisters. They're here.
Well, and I also think Uzo's story is the perfect defining story of the second you stop trying to fit into everyone else's thing,
it's like you're
is the second you everything clicks in. It's almost like the universe goes, "Oh, you're ready now, and I'm going to just throw a bunch of stuff at you now."
I'm realizing that we've had very similar experiences, kind of in different things, so that I'm not an actor anymore.
Yes.
So, but yeah, very similar. I'm just going to let go.
What about you, Taryn? Who were you? And did you go to traditional high school? Because I know you've been doing this for a while. So I
switched high schools in the middle, which was traumatic.
Tough.
Because I got accepted into Orange County High School of the Arts, OSHA. Because I was a dancer. I was a ballerina and a jazz dancer, and that's why I moved to Hollywood to dance. But I always had a lot of friends. My mom would say, one day you're going to be able to count all them on one hand. And I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. And then, she's right. I got 2, I think, left. I had a lot of friends, but I always say to people, if you feel like you're a nerd or, a geek or whatever, you're probably going to end up doing something great with your life. Because we were nerdy, but we're kind of emo kids, but lots of us.
Well, yeah, it's because, this may not be surprising at all, but I grew up as a very nerdy kid, and I was into a lot of stuff that other people weren't into. And at the time, it was heartbreaking because I just felt like, I don't fit in. I really like these things.
Yeah.
I don't understand the vernacular, the dialogue of what the other kids are saying. But then I realized that when you're kind of an oddball when you're young, that's best because you really learn introspection. And when you're young, if everything comes very easily to you, you don't ever learn the skills. You never have to work for it.
Yeah.
So you just don't go inward because everyone just brings you shit.
Yeah.
And so I think it may be painful when you're a kid, but it's a short period of time, and it's better that you have that for the rest of your life, that skill set. What about you in high school?
Me in high school, I don't know, I feel like it was like Glee in high school. Really, not even joking. I grew up in a very sports-dominated family.
Okay.
And my family, we all played sports, and everybody's into the arts too, but everybody was super into sports, and I loved music and making up songs downstairs, and my brother would always be yelling "Shut up!" All the time at me because I was being so loud. And I just would be wild with my imagination of writing and just being just ridiculous and inventing things in the backyard. And but I played sports. I figure skated for a really long time, and I ran track. in high school, and I had my sports friends. But then when I got to high school and the drama club, well, let me scroll back because I have to be full disclosure. Let's be clear. I was also in the chess club and the sewing club in middle school. And sewing, yes.
I was in chess club. I was in chess club.
Yes.
Did you play tournaments and all the?
Within our school, we had like different. So there was a club, and then they broke. Yes, I'm like L5. We can do. If you want to bring a chess table, my niece and nephews play chess now, and like it's like. I'm like so excited for them, and they only just learned how to play checkers after having learned to play chess. I'm going really deep into this nerd story.
Oh my God!
And I'm like super into it. But yeah, I was into stuff like that, and then when I got to the high school, we had drama and concert choir, and I was so into it like that. And so then I wound up having friends from that group, and honestly, my best friend. Simi, shout out to Simi, because she's still my best friend. She and my other friend Crowley, like we just were all, you know Crowley, y'all know Crowley. We all were just into those sort of things, and they remained my friends. And I think I sort of lived between both worlds, because then even when I went to college, I was in art school and I was running track at school. So I had my teammates who I was still friends with, and then I have my art friends who I was still friends with. So I guess that was like the straddle of what I was living throughout while also balancing.
Did you feel like it was an identity balance of like, oh, my sports friends are separate from my chess friends?
No. Well, you know what is funny? Actually, when I got to college, it was funny because there would be parties, and say I was going to, I don't know, like a basketball party or something, and I'd be telling my classmates, I'd be like, let's go to this party, like, da-da-da-da-da, it's happening South, and like, whatever. And they would be like, no, we don't feel like anybody's going to want us there. It's going to be weird. That was every single time. And then reverse, if I wanted to bring some of my teammates to an arts party, they'd be like, no, I don't know if they would be like our scene. And I actually find that the two groups are more alike than they are unalike.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, both are incredibly hardworking.
Right.
Focused. People are dreaming about something that most people are telling you is impossible.
Right.
You know what I mean? To achieve something. And that spirit, that fire is the thing that's motivating you most. And I don't know, I just always was like, y'all should hang out more because I feel like you would like each other.
I'm so jealous of you straddling both worlds because I so always had that fantasy of someone going, hey, what's up, chess nerd? And we'd be like, you know I could beat the shit out of you, right? Like, I did not have that at all. I'd be like, don't look at me. I wish I had the sports gene. I wish stop looking at me. Danielle, I want to ask you, because the show... Again, I don't know how much Genji saw where it was going to go, but this show has really become an important show about tackling social issues, and there are a lot. And I know people get very passionate, and I know things happen on the show that audiences may cheer for or not agree with. But for what for you has been so important about that or impactful, and how do you see the show's responsibility?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because when I first entered into telling this story, I had no idea where it was going to go. And I also never really saw myself wanting to talk about, like, political issues, and social issues. Like, I just wanted to act, you know what I mean? But then you see the importance of it. You see all of the different subject matters that we were able to talk about and people are able to relate to and hear us. President Obama even mentioned the show. So you feel a sort of responsibility. You do have a responsibility as an artist to talk about things that are important, like the issues that we're talking about with Poussey and police brutality and all of that. So the crazy thing about our show, it was so parallel to what was going on with Black Lives Matter and all of that, with Philando, with Sandra Bland, Mike Brown, the list goes on, you know what I mean? And what I appreciate about the show is that you can take somebody like from North Dakota who doesn't even have a black friend or like who's never come in contact with someone of color, and they are so attached to these characters, Poussey and Tasty, and so they're invested in these fictional characters. But because they're invested in the characters alongside us, and because of social media, I think it's amazing that they are now being aware of social issues, and we get to talk about, like Black Lives Matter, and they get to understand what that is in a world that they were so not, they weren't given that opportunity, I guess.
Right.
So for me, it's been wonderful to tell this story. I just want to give it justice and do it justice, because what I do know for a fact that even though our show is fictional, people are living that every day. I don't know. I just keep going back to this image in New York Times had done on Mike Brown when he had passed away, and he had his father over a casket just crying his eyes out, the whole family over the casket. And like that just reminder, like, these are real lives, y'all. Like, real lives. We just lost Jordan Edwards, in Texas the other day. And I just appreciate our writers and Gingy not being afraid to talk about things that matter.
Well, a really good, art in its best form, I think, will create conversation. And I think if there was an overall thematic arc to your show that's sort of a meta arc, like what does the audience take away? I think understanding is a word that pops out. It's understanding people, understanding why everyone's human, and why, people that you think that the system is just kind of thrown away. It's like, no. They're still worthy of living and still worthy of being understood and being talked to. But I want to, Taryn.
Our first season's log line said, every sentence has a story. And I thought that was so strong.
Oh, every sentence has a story?
Yes.
Oh, that's a great log line.
It's so beautiful. It's kind of like we're all talking about it in our own lives, too, that your voice is worth being heard, no matter how outside of the playing field it may land.
Right.
There's a place for it. And I think, it's really important.
But for Taryn, and I'm sure, I know you have a press day today. I'm sure you're going to talk about this a lot, so I apologize for being one of many people to bring it up. But it is something that happened on the show. But, your character is sexually assaulted, and then the way that she chooses to deal with that, was controversial for a lot of fans. And so how did you first react to the storyline? And then, what is your perspective on it now that you've had a little bit of distance from it?
So when I got the script, because we're not really told, I know for me, I can only speak for myself, but I haven't really been told exactly where my character is going, or sometimes it kind of pops up on you, too, as life does, which is, if you could plan not to be hit by a car, you might dodge it. So if I knew, this was coming, I might be like, I'm not going to, walk out there. But basically, I felt, it was definitely controversial that she chose, the road of forgiveness. I think that is one of the hardest things to do in life, is forgive, and start with forgiving yourself. And I think there's a lot of lessons in our show that are really beautiful and poignant, and it's really a show, full of forgiveness and understanding, as you mentioned. It was hard, though, to speak on something, knock on wood, and thank God has never happened to me. I really had to, really act. And that's the beauty of the craft that I've studied for a long, long time, is that I really enjoy acting, and I really enjoy the craft of being an actor. So,
what do you think you've learned about yourself after 5 seasons on the show?
I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself. This show has definitely illuminated a lot of, personal stuff. And I was transplanted in New York, and I at times feel very alone and ostracized, but by my own self, sort of. It's scary in New York. It's a whole, throbbing city. It's loud. There's people everywhere. They have friends. And, I'm just kind of there, and I just really immerse myself in this role.
Great.
I always say, it's hard to audition for other things, when we're in the season, because I feel really, method about it. I feel like I'm, betraying my role if I go to, audition for something else, I do.
Taylor, what have you learned about yourself in these last 5 years?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I've learned so many things. Like Taryn's saying, I think so much is I've gained so much. I think, like, my gratitude for my life is, like, much bigger than it ever was before, because I get to do this on a daily basis, and having that, like, in my blood now as a part of who I am, that gift of, I wanted to act so badly when I was growing up, and that I kind of pinch myself that, oh, so this is happening, and kind of 5 years is enough time where it sort of is in the fabric of my being that, like, look what happened. You did something. But I think I've also learned a lot about, kind of speaking to what we were talking about earlier, identity and how malleable that is. And I think through Piper has tried on many different identities throughout the course of the seasons, and it's been really interesting for me to continue. I mean, I'm humbled by humans and how we shapeshift to make sense of where we are in the world. And so she's, and I guess I've gained a lot of compassion for that as well, because I love Piper, and I've gained so much compassion and understanding through her sometimes bizarre choices that that's how humans operate, to try to belong.
Well, her identity has really evolved quite a bit.
She is so different. The woman that I read on the page in, getting the scripts for season 5 is a different character than the woman in the pilot of the show that I, started.
And so the thing that I always wonder about is, watching where she started and where she's come, are all these identities, were they hidden in there before, or were they a product of her environment? Like, how much nature nurture is it?
I think that's such a good question. And I think the only thing that I know for sure is that she knew she was hiding beforehand. And in these months that she's been in prison, she has realized that she didn't know who she was.
Right.
And so I think that we have all of those colors and shades within us. And I think that you can nurture one so it comes out, and then something else recedes, and then the thing that's receding comes out a little bit more. And so I don't think there's any, like, real Piper, just like there's no real, it's a patchwork quilt of a lot of things.
Right. Excellent. When we come back, our audience members are going to have a chance to ask a question. We're going to give away fan prizes to people who ask those questions. And remember, if you want to be a part of the conversation at home, at Talking on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you'll have exclusive information about upcoming guests. And you can ask questions using the hashtag Talking Hardwick, because no matter who we're talking to, we want you to be a part of the conversation. We'll be right back with the cast of Orange is the New Black. We'll see you in a few minutes. Talking with Chris Hardwick. Orange is the New Black is here on the show tonight. The cast of Orange is the New Black. It's time for audience questions. I see someone has a microphone in the front. Please come up and ask your question. What is your name?
I'm TQ, and I'm from Santa Barbara.
Oh, excellent. Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to know it's for the cast. If you could be locked up with any celebrity, who would you want as your bunkmate?
Any celebrity?
I think I need a man. Right now on the brain is Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, excellent.
Okay, I know what she's after. That's clear what your motivation was.
What about you, Taylor?
This is so bad. I don't know. Somebody else go first. Oh, God.
Meryl Streep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because then she could help me work on my craft and entertain me.
Yeah.
And also, you get to go, Meryl Streep, what the fuck did you get arrested for?
Yeah, I know.
When did Meryl Streep get arrested?
I don't know, but she would be a master at it.
Yeah. Whatever it was,
That's
would be
such a good
amazing.
one.
Whatever it was would be amazing. I don't know. What about you? Who's yours?
For entertainment, Yvette Nicole Brown, because
of course.
I mean, I could talk TV all day long with her.
Maybe.
But for alternate entertainment, Shamar Moore.
Excellent.
See? You and me, we get each other.
You know, I have a very special thing for you, and I'm gonna let you pick here because you have the you have the outfit here, and so I'm just gonna let you pick which name tag you would like to go with your. Who do you think? You're going with Suzanne. Okay, great. You got Suzanne, and she signed it. Oh, here. I'll put this on you right. There you go. Okay, great. You're very welcome. We have a video message. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Brittany from Springdale, Arkansas, and my question is for Danielle. Poussey's death was shattering on so many realistic levels. How did you personally cope after filming that scene?
Oh, man. I think it's so selfish of me to even try to say, how do I cope with something like that? Because, again, like, people are really dealing with that. I'm just acting. You know, I'm just trying to be as honest and imaginative as I can be to be for someone who's going through that. So I can't even be selfish and say it was so hard. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I get to hug Samira. You know, I get to take her in my arms.
You were friends before.
Oh, we've been friends for 10 years now. That's my girl.
I mean, that one was, people really do get, their identities really get absorbed into a show. And so everyone kind of has their, like, oh, that's my hero character.
Yeah.
And so, when you lose that, it really is hard for people because they really do feel, even though it's fictionalized, they really do feel like they're losing a piece of themselves. And this is just, we did have a reaction card. Samira Wiley, of course, who played Poussey. But the reaction was, Kylie Slipkit says, I finished last season. Poussey didn't deserve that. She was the most pure on the whole show. Stewykins43 said, in all caps, why did you let Poussey smile before the credits? I lost it. Need to go hug my baby.
I like your reading of it, though.
I'm trying to understand what the emotional.
Why did you let Poussey smile?
Why did you let her die? Why did you let her smile?
That was so good. So heartbreaking.
I mean, as you said, we're actors, we're performers, we come onto the show. But how long did it take you to understand how impactful it is to people? Like, it really, and I mean, like, there is a tremendous amount of respect that you kind of have to approach it with because the fans need to know that it's as important to you as it is to them. So what was understanding that like to you as opposed to just getting an acting job?
It was, I think it was light in that you understand you're doing it for the work, but you can feel the weight and the importance of it because you want to always treat it with the respect and the dignity that it deserves. I think each of us finds ourselves on this show confronting and tackling different issues and subject matters that often go unchecked in our society. And, in Suzanne's case, it's the conversation about mental health that we're not having, simply. And I find myself at times not wanting to do anything to insult or offend anyone who's battling or struggling through their life. And in this particular instance, with the Justice for Poussey, I think each of us were very clear, we're very sensitive and tuned in cast as individuals.
They separated us.
Yeah, huh?
Remember how they separated us?
Yeah, well, we had a lot of different places where we were, but everybody knew the weight of it. One, because, to Danielle's point, we love Samira, the person. Mm-hmm. She is an amazing girl. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves Samira. Then she's a phenomenal actor, and everybody loves Poussey. Mm-hmm. So when you realize that your professional actor self is losing someone, it's hard not to then reflect on the social issue that's happening currently in the world, that this is actually something we get to go back to and revisit and see Samira if we want to. We can call her. That's not true for the Jordan Edwards of the world. That's not true for the Alton Sterlings of the world. That's not true for the Sandra Blands of the world. So you feel and recognize that weight, and you don't want to treat it with any sort of ease or simplicity, because that's not what it is for those people who battle that daily.
Did you understand how Suzanne chose to deal with it? What she chose to do? Did that make sense to you?
Yes, because I have to make sense of it for my character. She was not, her objective was not to initiate a fight or a trauma in the space. She herself had already been traumatized, right? What we witnessed in Suzanne was a reaction to a system that had traumatized her the episode previous. She had experienced the social injustice, the assault of Hump's behavior, and we were watching that reaction play out. And a casualty of that reaction was was Poussey, in her attempt to aid her and trying to get the other officers off of her. So I don't place blame on Suzanne. I look to the system and wonder where the answers can be found there.
I mean, it's pretty heartbreaking that she felt that she had to bury herself to try to feel what she felt.
Yeah.
Do you? I kind of want to just understand what that scene was like, knowing what you knew and knowing what she was trying to accomplish in that. You know, what's going through your head with the books as the books are burying you.
Well, it was two parts, I think. We all work together very closely as a family, each of us, but we are separated, as Taryn mentioned, into different tribes on the show. You know, we have Spanish Harlem, we have the suburbs, we have Ghetto Dorm, and we have the Golden Girls. Those are all the tribes. Dee and I roll in the Golden Girls. We're in the Ghetto Dorm, you know, and as was Samira Poussey. And so that's someone we work with
every day.
10
years, you're saying. I've known her for 10 years. I helped her with her audition.
God.
Yeah, she called me and was like, Danny, I know you're playing Tasty, and I just got an audition for Poussey. Can you read with me? Come over to the house and read. I was like, sure, but can I read that script, though? So, yeah, like you're saying, we are so close.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, girl. We were feeling it from, you know, when we stepped in all of those reactions, it was you could put something else into it, pour a little bit more out, because it was someone you knew and felt wasn't going to be there the next day. And I thought, Genji, I mean, I cried reading that reaction which you just wrote about the smile, because to read it for us, it's burned in my mind. She smiles, that Poussey smile that we all know and love. And to read that, we all know it. I love Samira. We all know it. And you could feel that. So when you feel the weight of those books, you can take in the experiences, again, happening in the everyday. And you can also, I guess, I don't know, want to give back to her, Samira, what she has given to us.
We have another question. Someone can stand up and ask a question. Please stand up. What is your name?
Hi, I'm Nikki from Vancouver, British Columbia.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Nikki from Vancouver,
Oh,
British
hello,
Columbia.
welcome. Well, please, what is your question?
My question's for Taryn. Was it uncomfortable for you to have your teeth done up all rotten and missing?
Yeah, it's not the best feeling on the planet. It's actually, it's just makeup that goes on the teeth, and it's interesting to eat lunch with it and stuff like that.
Isn't that comfortable?
Yeah, when I did like the really banged up grill before the dentist, that was actually like a mouthpiece.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't. I guess when you're first starting acting, and it's like, oh, you're in theater and you're taking acting classes, you don't like the practical stuff that happens on an actual set. We're like, okay, act with a thing on your teeth, or just having to act during a prison riot, or it's like you don't. I feel like nothing really actually prepares you until you actually get there on set.
But I think that's more fun, though, because, like, other than, like, because I went to Juilliard, so, like, first and second year, we had nothing. You just get black boxes and black clothes, and you're miming how to drink a cup of water and all that stuff. It's like, can I just get a cup of water, please? I would love some fake teeth. Why not?
Let's see. I have a very special thing for you, which is here. This is also a Department of Corrections, all signed by the cast. Excellent. This person made one call. Here it is. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Katie from Mayo in Ireland, and my question is, what was it like being directed by your co-star Laura Prepon?
Oh,
Great.
She was amazing. She did a great job.
I just loved working with her. I was like, she's a boss. Go ahead, girl. Like, because she's done this acting thing for a long time, so she knows how to speak to actors.
Right. Yes.
And those are my favorite people to work with. And she knows the characters. She's been with them. So it's not like her figuring out how we maneuver together or which groups, how each person works together. She already knows that. So I also appreciate her. I remember her saying So Danielle, like, what's your style? Like, how do you want to? What's your communication style with director? And I just appreciated her asking me, because sometimes actors need some space. Sometimes, like, just let me do my thing, come in after the second take, and then I'll change it. Or sometimes people need you on them, to like, tell them every step of the way what they're doing or what you want from them. And so for her to ask me that, I was like,
does anyone else want to direct? Does anyone else have a desire to direct an episode?
Sure.
I don't.
I want to direct generally.
Yeah, you want to direct in general?
Yes. I love stories. I love telling stories, I think. And I'd be interested in just the part of the crafting a story together. I think especially when having been on the front end of it, I guess, the downstage side of it, to experience it from the back end and help tell not my piece alone, but serve in like the collaborative part of beginning, middle, and end. That's exciting to me.
Not to just be one piece, but to sort of be the grand master storyteller of it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I never thought that I was interested in directing or producing anything in that capacity, but having the amount of time we've had together doing this, I'm really curious now as to how all of the pieces come together. And I'd love to, I don't know if I want to direct an episode, but I'm really excited to have the time maybe to shadow, like we have time to like shadow directors and be on location scouts and to be in an editing room. Yeah. And so that's something that I'm excited about exploring in the next few seasons.
I mean, your relationship with Laura's character, Alex, is such an interesting dynamic, because I feel like Piper, at least from my perspective, she spends so much of the show, and we sort of talked about this a little bit, but, trying to fit into someone else's thing.
Yeah.
And even with her, it's like there are times where like, she's just fucking with you. What are you doing? Like that's how I felt. Anyway, how do you see their dynamic?
I think that there is. I think that there's a vulnerability when you don't quite know who you are and your own anchor hasn't quite dropped.
Right.
To project yourself onto someone else. And that is one of the tightest, most explosive bonds I think two people can have. And I think in my mind, trying to make sense of the back and forth, it's that there's something where, because Piper does not know who she is, she can hold on to that. And so she can create a self in relation to her, to this woman. So it's almost fulfilling more of her need rather than any desire for partnership, kind of.
Yeah.
She's getting something from it. And that very well may change, but I know that, does that make sense?
That does make sense. Because on, with a show like Breaking Bad, which had a very definitive arc, Vince Gilligan said, well, the premise of the show is, the thesis of the show is, can you take Mr. Chips and turn him into Scarface? And so you're watching this arc. So what do you think Piper's arc is?
I mean, it's a really good question, and I think like, were you just talking? It's like getting the new thing. You don't know what's going to happen in your life, so getting the new script every week is interesting. But I think it's much more. It's going to be more subtle than that. I initially thought that it was going to be a bit of a Walter White situation,
right?
And as I've been living it, it's far more subtle.
Right.
I don't know where she's going to end up.
Let's take some questions from the internet. Oh, this is a good one. Uzo, living off the edge on Twitter, says, but like when will
That's the name?
Yeah, living off the edge. The question is, but like when will Time Hump Chronicles hit the shelf?
It is coming to a bookstore near you. No, I don't know.
I actually kind of think it'd be really fun one year if Netflix sent you as Suzanne to Comic-Con to talk about your book, Time Hump Chronicles, and you just went in character.
And didn't break at all.
Didn't break character at all.
That would be kind of amazing.
Because you said, and I love that you love that you are these characters as well. We were at the commercial break. Uzo was saying, it'd be really fun if for Halloween one year we all just dressed up as our characters and went out and had people go, that's really good. Wow, you really look like her.
Yes, you really nailed those knots. Thank you. I think it would be amazing. I really think. And just walk down the street, see if anybody catches on.
This is for Danielle, Mia Bertani on Twitter. You probably can't really talk. I'll ask the question even though you probably can't really talk about it. How will Tasty's personality change after the events of season 4? So without saying anything that happens in season 5, knowing what you know about her, how would you think that would affect her?
Oh man, it is like a grenade went off. That's what I think. I think it gets really intense, and she has nothing to lose. So therefore, she is doing whatever she feels necessary to get justice for her girl. So it makes for a very interesting season 5 for Tasty.
I mean, the idea of being incarcerated, whether or not it's, you have a limited sentence or it's a life sentence, do you feel that some of the thought is, well, I'm already in here, it doesn't matter anymore, why try, why go on? Like where, in as much as actors can, begin to understand what this experience is really like, where do you think someone finds hope in an otherwise hopeless situation?
That's a good question. Oh man, I mean, I feel like with Tasty, it did start off like that. She didn't really have hope. There was a scene in season 2 where she is about to get out, and she's like, well, what am I going to do? I have nowhere to go, and she finds herself there again. But because of that, she has made this her home. And because of that, she feels the need to fight for it. She feels the need to get better health care and to have better food and education and all of that, because she does realize that these women are more than their sentence. She's more than her sentence. And I feel like with her, it's just, it's you have a choice, especially in a situation like Tasty, that everyone is gone. Everyone has died in her life. And she can either die as well, spiritually, or she can say, I'm going to fight to live. And she decides, I'm going to fight to live. So that's what I think. That's where it comes from. Do you want to live?
A couple more questions. Taryn? Yes. This is from looks like Odegasmo. I don't know. Did Pensatucky's origin story surprise you? Did it affect how you play the character?
Her original story, her backstory?
Her backstory, yeah.
It wasn't too surprising. I knew she probably came from some messed up, background. I think the part about, the way she was raised and what she was, meant to be eating and drinking is, definitely plays into, just some of her choices, or maybe just how developed her brain is, her frontal lobes, or lack thereof. She, all the backstories really help. You really want to follow these women, and you really get invested because of them. And, it helped me become more invested in my character, helped me understand her more, helped me not judge my own character, and accept her and forgive her, and, she's a real human.
Excellent. So as we're wrapping this up, I know you can't talk about season 5, but if we could just say, do you have 3 words that you can use to sort of just, give an overall sense of what people can expect in season 5? What would those 3 words be? Anybody? Uzo.
You're not ready.
Those are pretty good. Does anyone else have any?
That's so good.
You're not ready was perfect.
No, that's perfect.
I have to say, this was an absolute pleasure to have you on. I've never really seen you all talk at length in anything. Everything just comes so fast and it's so choppy because we have no attention spans in our culture anymore. But it has been an absolute honor to talk to all of you. You do such a beautiful job on your show, and you speak to your show's about survival, and it's about hope, and it's about not giving up, and it's about humanity. And just getting to spend some time with you and see how genuinely warm you all are and how you really do feel the same way about the show, I think is really satisfying. And I think it will only strengthen the fandom that you already have. So thank you so much for coming on. Orange is the New Black was here. Uzo Aduba, Danielle Brooks, Taryn Manning, and Taylor Schilling. Orange, the new season, kicks off June 9th on Netflix. Always check in with us at Talking on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. find out who's going to be on the show, how you can be a part of it. And thank you for dressing up for the show today, by the way. This is exactly what I want more people to come on and do. The show is about fandom. Thanks again for watching. I'm Chris Hardwick, at Hardwick on the tweets and the Instagrams. Don't text and drive. All right, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Good night. Great job. That was wonderful.
Now leaving Nerdist.com. Enjoy your burrito.